in so I can go live right then and there. We always have to do that. Welcome. We have, I think this might be one of my most packed show plans ever. We've so many things to talk about. Yes, so much news. The Combine, there was the franchise tag day. There was, Calvin Ridley being reinstated to the NFL. And then so many other things have happened. Derek Carr, everything. And then this incident today. This incident, I feel like we could.
Before you speak on it, the Raiders are back in, by the way.
Oh, who cares?
I know. I'm just saying.
Who cares? They're not actually. They can say they're in, but they're not. They're not really in. But Ryan, how are you?
I'm great. Eating my chicken quesadilla. I'm having a great time, and Lamar's going to be a Detroit Lion.
I'm having a great. Really, I haven't heard that one yet. I like it.
I've heard that one before.
I haven't. I think all over Twitter.
It's going to happen. They're one of the few teams with the cap space and the draft picks. They don't have to give up 6 because 6 isn't their pick, so they could give up 18 and a later 2024 first next year. So
wow,
sounds like Ryan's trying to manifest this right now.
I shouldn't be manifesting this.
Look at all that blue he's wearing. He's got the blue blanket and the blue wall. Blue, man.
Only if I had like blue cheese.
All coming together.
Is it?
Josh, I hear you're powering through today.
I'm powering through a little bit. I'm a little bit under the weather. I can talk. But I'm here. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good to actually talk about football with some people. So
yes,
gonna give you.
I love that. Yeah. And Rocky, it's interesting that you're here. I've spent so much time listening to your podcast, but we haven't recorded anything together in quite a while.
Yeah.
How have you been? How's your Eagles fandom?
Doing good. Still a little ticked over the end of the Super Bowl regarding my Eagles fandom. Yes. I said it then. It's not just that the Eagles were screwed. The whole country was screwed out of a potentially fantastic ending, and
I agree with that.
That call should not have been made at that point. But anyway, enough of that.
It's good.
But I'm doing good. And it's been a while. I mean, we had you join Trade Addicts a while back. I just want to get you back on. But I haven't recorded with you in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I caused so many problems in the Trade Addicts League that we share that there's so much to talk about. Yeah, so many issues.
We were talking before the show. Tyler's trades never get on the show because Russ takes off the tiny ones. And every trade Tyler sends is like, Juwan Johnson for a 25 third.
But it went through, though. It went through. Yeah. That's the thing. It totally did go through.
He loves getting those thirds and fourths.
I do. Yeah, they're very important. Thirds and fourths win leagues. Look, you can knock it all you want, but there have been 7 trades since Trade Addicts 8 rolled over. And I've been a part of all 7. So I am the real trade addict, I think. Not you and not Russ. We see this is because I play in like 3 leagues and you guys play in 40. This is why I have time for this. This is why I have time for this. And this is why I don't play in 40 leagues, because I don't like doing something like half measure or whatever, like half effort. So I just would rather actually pay attention to a few leagues over kind of.
I pay attention to my leagues, Tyler.
Yeah, but I can't do that.
Trades.
I can't do that though. I can't keep track of 40 leagues. If I have 40 leagues, I'm not going to remember who I have on what team, and then I'm going to be like, I had this.
I'm not going to say I remember who I have on what team, but when I go to the leagues, I find trades.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't handle it. Plus, I have too many patrons to deal with. So we also have a Ravens fan.
That's me. I think that's who you're talking about. Me. Yep.
Well, it's 2 Eagles fans, a Giants fan, and a Ravens fan. So it's news on my front. We'll talk about that later. But yes, Ravens fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about the whole everything?
He's being out on him.
Everything. That too. I mean, this Gavin says that saying no to meeting with a 26-year-old MVP is kind of wild. I do think it is wild. That seems kind of odd. Many teams were willing to meet with a potential, prison inmate in Deshaun Watson. That's where I think he should be. So teams had no problem meeting with him, but they're not interested in a 26-year-old MVP. I think that's kind of very unwise. That's just my opinion.
When can we ring the collusion bell? Can we ring it?
Oh, you can because it's so obvious collusion. I mean, how is the Atlanta Falcons social media team ready to have all of these things posted so quickly? I mean, that seems very suspicious to me.
I thought it was a meme page that posted like the Atlanta Falcons retweeted. I went to their Twitter page and it was actually them. I was stunned.
Well, let's hear about.
Well, they knew what the information was going to be coming out today, whether he was going to be assigning the tag or like if the team was going to give him the tag, and the team was going to give him the tag 100%. It was just the question was the exclusive or not exclusive, right? And that's kind of what's causing all the uproar.
A little quickly though. It's almost like
if they're not thinking about it already, then they're doing a bad job. I would say then they're just doing a horrible job.
It's just interesting that everything was so coordinated. It seems a little suspicious.
You made a good point though with the Watson thing. It is bizarre. Like, I mean,
very
I was thinking
bizarre.
You have to give
bizarre
with the tag. You do have to give 2 first-round picks and a huge contract, but you had to do that with Deshaun Watson too. So, what's the issue here?
Picks. I really have no idea.
When I look at the teams that came out and said this, honestly, it doesn't make any sense at all, except for Miami a little bit. Miami currently has Tua, and they don't want to sour that relationship. So I understand why they might say they're not interested in bringing in Lamar. But these other teams with no future at the quarterback position, if a lot of teams want to move up to even try to go get a quarterback right now, they're going to pay more than 2 first-round picks. I know the contract's a lot, but to not even see what it's going to take or try to make something work, it's kind of crazy. In my
Josh,
opinion.
do you want them to sign on like for whatever it takes, like Deshaun Watson contract as a Ravens fan?
No. See, I don't. I'm kind of. I know the Ravens aren't going to do that either. They've kind of,
all right.
Not whatever it takes. I don't want to give them the guarantee money, and that's why we're doing this. Non-exclusive franchise tag. It makes a lot of sense. We're going to let the market kind of play itself out, see what Lamar's offered, and I think in the Ravens' minds and Eric DeCosta's mind, it's kind of like. They don't think that Lamar is going to be offered exactly what he's expecting, all this guaranteed money. And if he's not, then the Ravens gambled on this tag, and it will pay off if they can at least, because I think the Ravens are willing to pay more than that they're offering right now, but they don't want to give Lamar exactly what he wants either. So maybe they can meet in the middle without having to do all this negotiation. I think that's kind of what's going through their mind.
They're pawn starring him.
At least there's
it kind of sucks, but
at least there's no more poison pills. Like if there were still poison pills, if I were Atlanta, people don't know what a poison pill is. You would be writing something along the lines of in the contract, if the quarterback plays more than 6 games in the state of Maryland in 2023, he's going to be owed an additional $50 million, something along those lines, something bad that would only apply to Baltimore, so Baltimore can't match. But that's no longer allowed. They took that out in the 2020 CBA, so you can't do that. There are things that other teams can do to make it more difficult for Baltimore to match, but I don't anticipate that considering the reaction or lack of a interest in Lamar. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a very interesting thing that we're going to have to track. The most important thing is if Lamar wants, he can wait to sign an offer sheet if he really wants to stick it to Baltimore, can wait to sign an offer sheet until after the 2023 NFL draft. And then that pushes the potential compensation back to a 2024 and 2025 first. Not nearly as appealing in NFL terms. Maybe appealing to me as a dynasty manager, but in the NFL, we don't have that kind of patience. I don't get fired as the manager of my dynasty team if it loses. I don't have to worry about that.
I think you would be more interested in like Demarcus Robinson for
I don't
24/7. No, I'm saying that's the trade you'd be trying to make.
Yeah, I would be interested in a 25 fourth. I'm very interested. I've already accumulated in my whole portfolio, despite only having a few teams. I've already accumulated of my 4 teams I'm looking at here. I've accumulated 12 fourths over the next 2 years. So I'm doing a great job. Great job of accumulating fourths. And this year in Trade Addicts, I started the year, I had 9 fourths. Now I've traded 2 of them away. I'm down to 7 fourths. Wow. That's 7 fourths. But I already have 6 thirds in 2024 and 5 thirds in 2025. So I'm doing a great job. I'm doing a great job of accumulating all of these picks. I think, Russ would probably have a meltdown over the amount of time I spend on this.
You never know. Those picks could be a boat.
I know. And then I'm going to do what I did last year and trade the 302 for a 24-second. Whoa. Wow. So I'm going to have traded for it 2 years in advance and then traded the year of for something 2 more years in advance.
You're going to be loaded on 2027 first. I'll tell you what.
Well, I already traded for a 2025 first.
What?
So I'm doing a great job. I'm very proud of myself. I traded KJ Osborne for Dubs. Well, I will say that Romeo Dubs will never pull someone out of a car like KJ Osborne did this week. So we have to give him props for that.
Probably not.
Very great thing that he did. But
if I have to give you one, it would be a thumbs up. But
I would give you a thumbs up. Dubs is worth
pretty.
It's a thumbs up.
Yeah, I wanted to do that, but he said thumbs up or down. I didn't have another option. I'll go up. I'll say you slightly won that trade.
And I actually have them back to back in my ranks.
Dubs is younger, so sure. I think so. He's been around forever.
Rookie last season.
I know he feels like
third year, right?
KJ, KJ Osborne's older than I thought.
Yeah, it's probably 26,
25.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. All right, Gavin, give Andrews, get Metcalf, half tight end premium.
I'll take Andrews. I like having the elite tight end, and I know he had a little bit of a down year last year. I guess we don't know who his quarterback's going to be for sure, but I still think that as long as he has half decent quarterbacking, I think I'd still take Andrews and take the elite tight end.
Josh is pondering down there.
I know.
It's a tough one.
He's pondering this one.
Because the fact that you have TJ Hawkinson, I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be really good with the Minnesota Vikings next year. Yeah, he was really good once he was traded there. He just is going to get so many targets. I'm okay with the trade. I do prefer Andrews in a bubble. Knowing your context and not knowing your wide receiver room, which I'm thinking Metcalf's going to greatly improve that. I'll take Metcalf.
I'll take Metcalf.
Really?
There's a big difference between the 0.5 and the 0.75.
That is true. And I'm used to I'm in all 11 trade addicts leagues, so I'm pretty used to the 0.75.
Yeah, no, it's I like the 0.75. I do my rank. That's why my Patreon rankings are 0.75, actually.
No, I like that a lot.
Is it even on my? No, I should put it back on there. I used to have on my actual sheet that it's trade addict scoring. I took it off for whatever reason when I was copying it over at some point. But yeah, 1.75 is what I'm used to. Let's see. Pickens or Kirk, MVS, and Spiller. Well, I don't want the second two things.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
they suck. So
and Kirk has Ridley coming back now too.
I think I'll take Pickens.
That upside is just so immense.
That was one of the things on the show sheet. I mean, what do people think? What do you think about Ridley coming back? I mean, I think it's interesting. It's certainly going to help Trevor Lawrence, but how optimistic are we about that?
I don't know if Josh goes. I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm super optimistic points wise. The guy's been out of the league almost 2 years now, and new team, new offense. Like you said, I think it benefits Lawrence the most of anybody, and it kind of screws everyone else there because it takes away targets from Kirk, takes away targets from Ingram. I'm not sure. I believe Ridley's just going to come back in, step back in, and be a wide receiver one again. So, yeah, I don't really like it for anybody except Trevor Lawrence.
You summed it up perfectly. That's exactly how I would kind of put the situation. How old's Calvin Ridley now? He's 29 now,
28.
Right? 28?
Yeah.
So 29.
He's not young either. Yeah.
He'll be 29 this summer. So he'll be
December.
29 going. Yeah. So for Dynasty, I'd rather have Kirk over Ridley, but I'll take Pickens in this trade.
Yeah. I like Pickens. I actually just finished writing an article about Pickens. It'll be on DLF soon.
I did a video on Pickens this offseason, like a month or two ago. I just think he is going to probably have he's got so much upside heading into next season.
I was just going to say, I do think he's a little overvalued dynasty-wise, but that's another reason I still think a lot of people have him there. Maybe not you, but...
Well, No, it's not that my value of him changed. It's that his market value seems to have taken a bizarre, random tumble for no reason, like massive tumble, which I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. Like, I'm not sure what changed. Like, what changed from January to February, but all of a sudden the market value just evaporated. I really don't know. Like, if someone can tell me, I'd love to know, because I actually genuinely don't know.
Like, where
don't
do you
think
think
it
it
changed to? Like,
Well, it just went way
how
down.
low did it get?
Put it this
it's
way: in November, December, and January, he was consistently ahead of Deontay Johnson in Dynasty value. Deontay Johnson's value didn't change, but George Pickens went down like 2 rounds in DLF's last group of startup data. So I just thought that was very, very odd.
That is odd.
I don't know what changed from January to February. That's all.
You know, it's this one guy that was confirmed that he's coming back. You know, Matt Canada.
That's what changed.
But how does that change Pickens versus Johnson? Because Johnson was a bigger disaster. If you actually look at it, in the 13 games, Kenny, I just wrote this today, so I remember it pretty well. In the 13 games Kenny Pickett played, George Pickens actually outscored Deontay Johnson. The only reason Deontay Johnson had a better season was because he really did well in the 4 games Kenny Pickett didn't participate in. He averaged over 15 PPR points a game in those games. And remember, he scored 0 touchdowns all year. So he was like a volume monster in the 4 games Kenny Pickett did not participate in. Unfortunately for Deontay Johnson, that's not going to be the case in 2023. So I am terrified of Deontay Johnson because the splits are so bad with Kenny Pickett. I mean, he was one of the least efficient wide receivers in the league with Kenny Pickett. It was that bad. So
what were the target numbers with Pickett?
The targets weren't that bad. It did. Actually, you know what? I literally just wrote it.
That's why
essentially, yeah. Let's see. You're getting a sneak preview. So here, in the 4 games that he played where Pickett did not participate, he had 10.8 targets, 7.8 receptions, and 73 receiving yards, 15.7 PPR points. Those are the 4 games where no Pickett. In the 13 games where Pickett was present, we were down to 8 targets. He only caught 4.2 of them. So that's very bad. And then 45 receiving yards on those targets, which is not great either. So terrible. Really terrible for the volume. Really, really bad. So I don't know what the problem is. I mean, you can blame it all on Pickett, or you can just say that Pickett has a preference for Pickens, because he does comparatively. Pickens was out targeted by Deontay Johnson even with Pickett, but was significantly more efficient. He caught much more percentage of the targets that he did see, and also had significantly more yards per reception and yards per target over Johnson.
It's those training camp reps from early in the year. It's
maybe,
be, right?
But it was very odd that Deontay Johnson was the one rumored to force Kenny Pickett into the lineup, because that was rumored, right? He was the angry one about how it was going with Trubisky. I don't believe that he punched him, but like there was a lot of discussion that Deontay Johnson was integral in that change being made, but that change being made did not help him get more volume or become more efficient or the offense be better. Didn't do any of those things.
Can't forget scoring touchdowns.
No, the thing that actually improved in the offense is that Najee Harris got healthy down the stretch. And that's what made the offense passable, is that Najee Harris became healthy and the offense was able to run the ball, where he was actually pretty good. Najee Harris was pretty effective through the second half of the year when he looked healthy. Whereas in the first half of the year when he was not healthy, he couldn't run the ball. So that's actually...
compare anything to that first half of the season.
It was horrible.
He looked awesome.
I think it's important to note for people, thinking about value dynasty running backs, if people were just quit on Najee Harris entirely based on that first half, you could clearly see that in the second half, he was healthy and suddenly was running just fine. So, he looked like the first round pick, maybe not as good as we would have wanted, but solid running back prospect that we were all expecting. So he's someone that I've seen, depending on the league, go at a nice value. But for this trade, I'd go with the Pickens side. Oh, and Isaiah Spiller is a total bust. Like,
yes,
Taco Tuesday, we're not calling it that anymore.
Quesadilla Tuesday for me.
Someone asked me on Twitter if there was any chance of Ask DLF or any form of that show ever coming back. And I answered them with the truth, which is no. No, there is no chance that show is ever coming back. Zero chance. I mean, I never want to say never, but no, it's not coming back. Sorry, guys.
You're watching it.
Yeah, you're watching it, and I don't, I don't plan on doing video content for another channel probably ever. I don't think I'm going to give up creative control of the video side of what I do because I just don't think I can function that way. So in terms of YouTube content, I think it's either going to be on here or not at all moving forward. So the chances of that show coming back are 0. From Gavin, as a Cowboy and Dak fan, I'd rather pay Lamar. Well, maybe in a vacuum, but you'd have to give up 2 first-round picks to do it. I don't know if I would rather, and then you'd have to.
By the way,
And
I want to
to
pay Lamar. I want the Ravens to pay Lamar. It just what the reports of what he's asking for, I do think are a little too high for the Ravens to give all that guaranteed money. But I hope some team offers him a contract that the Ravens can afford to match. Let's put it that way.
I feel like the owners are digging their heels in on this, though.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of principle that they just don't want to let the Deshaun Watson contract become the norm. And I don't think Lamar gets the contract unless he's really a free agent. Then he might, because then all it takes is someone to sign it. They don't have to give up anything.
Yeah.
Suddenly when someone is free agent, things move a little bit faster and move a little bit differently.
Oh, yeah.
So I do think if he gets to free agency, he will get the contract that he's seeking. But
So you would guess that he plays out the franchise tag, right?
no, I think he'll settle for what he doesn't want.
Oh, okay.
But he's not going to get
like that.
And I think it's going to be for a different team.
Maybe not that part. It's like,
I think it's going to be for a different club. I think yes, I think so. I think a team is going to come in, not necessarily. Remember, you can negotiate. You can negotiate a different package, and then there are other things you can do. I do think that the long-term deal, if we go through this again next offseason, especially when the franchise tag number is higher, I think that there'll be potentially other, and we get 1 year closer to free agency. I think the Ravens will be more likely to make a move at that point. But possible he has to play under the franchise tag again. Or something like that. I mean, you never know. I mean, Kirk Cousins bet on himself and it paid off. Can you imagine if Lamar actually were a free agent? There's never been a quarterback of his caliber to hit open free agency in his prime, right? I mean, not that level.
Not
yeah,
of
Cousins
his
is
level.
probably the highest level guy that's ever hit free agency.
Drew Brees, right? He wasn't as
Drew
good.
Brees
He
has
wasn't
a
Drew Brees.
serious shoulder concern, though.
Yeah,
he wasn't Drew Brees
either.
He wasn't
Yeah, and
Drew
he
Brees
was
and
coming
a
off the
major
shoulder
threat.
injury.
Yeah.
So not really, but yeah, it would be unprecedented. And of course, they can't do the third franchise tag because the third franchise tag is a 44% increase over the previous one. So that would, they could do it, but it would cost like $58 million for the third franchise tag. So that's probably not going to happen.
No. One thing real fast. Do you think that the Ravens, if they just sign or just try to trade him and gave him the exclusive franchise tag, they could get more than 2 firsts? You know what I'm saying? You don't think so? Do you think that's completely out of the possible?
Maybe. I just don't know if
I bring that up simply because, if they could, why wouldn't they just do that? If they planned on letting him go to a not outpriced contract, you know what I'm saying? We don't have to get into it anymore.
I don't know. I really don't know. I find a lot of how they've handled this to be kind of odd.
Yeah, it is odd. I agree.
But now they've put themselves. The problem with the exclusive tag is it ties up $45 million of the cap, and then they have to actually make the deal work. Then they kind of put themselves in a situation where they don't really want to actually have him play at all. And remember, if they put the exclusive tag this year, he could just sign it, and then it's the next tag is an increase off the previous tag. So if a $45 million exclusive tag this year would lead to, no matter which version of the tag they used, would be at least $50 million next year. So that would put them in a situation that I'm not sure they really wanted to do, because then teams know that they have to trade him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What is Ryan eating, Ryan?
Chicken quesadilla, man. Simple.
It would be amazing if the Jets went with Lamar and Rodgers is back in Green Bay. Wouldn't it? I don't think that's going to happen. The Jets are on the plane to California right now. I mean, I think they're there. I think there was a Twitter account. You can track the plane go. You can. I mean, it's clearly, you can see the plane moving. It's totally moving. I think it's
Lamar's
already
definitely
there.
more likely to be in Baltimore than Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay, for sure.
Yeah, Rodgers is not going back to Green Bay.
I really don't think so.
Yeah. There's no chance, right? I mean, I don't see that as really
I don't see that as a possibility, really.
He's a Jet.
I agree with that. The Raiders seem to have taken themselves out of the running.
The Raiders are taking themselves out of the running for everybody. Who's going to be the quarterback? Jarrett Stidham?
Jared
Will
Stidham,
Levis.
yeah.
You look good.
Will Levis. Will
last
Levis.
game.
Ooh, don't do that.
Well, I mean, I think who else is going to possibly be able to get along with Josh McDaniels? I don't think that's not. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not going to do that.
I mean, Will Levis does put mayo in his coffee.
You know why that is?
Wasn't it like a dare?
No, I think he has a phobia to milk or something.
I was just going to say, wasn't there a thing where he's
that's
afraid of
fake.
milk?
Yeah, he's
That's
afraid.
fake,
He's
and they ran with that.
Listen, my friend was telling me about this. I don't know how legit this is. I don't even know if I should say it, but apparently, like it troubles his daily life. His fear of milk. Like he literally is terrified of milk. That's what my friend was telling me. Maybe I should have done some research before mentioning that on a stream here, but just to.
Well, you heard it here today. Josh Fuster says that Will Levis thinks that
He's
he's totally afraid of milk. And if you have any complaints about it, you can send your Twitter feedback to @Josh Fuster.
Right here.
Yeah,
That's me.
That's good. I'm glad you did it that way. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Don't send it to me. Don't send it to me.
No, it's my fault if I'm wrong there.
Yeah. Also, I would suggest for anything else that Rocky might say, send your feedback to @Dynasty Outhouse.
Yes.
Send your complaints there.
Exactly.
That's where I would send those complaints. Definitely to @Dynasty Outhouse for anything that Rocky said that you don't like.
He's my representation.
Yes, definitely. So this is not actually true. In 2022, that definitely was not the case.
Absolutely not in 2020.
In 2021, it's true.
That's what I think he's referring to. Yeah.
But not 2022. So I think that, maybe Lamar is not the best quarterback for Mark Andrews, but I think Lamar is better than Tyler Huntley.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's definitely better than Tyler.
Not even
I will say, though, I do think that a generic average quarterback who actually throws the ball would be better for Mark Andrews than Lamar Jackson. Like, I think Mark Andrews would have more, to give you an example, Mark Andrews would have more fantasy value with Derek Carr than with Lamar Jackson. I'd rather have Derek Carr for Mark Andrews because Derek Carr's actually going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
I certainly would rather have Kirk Cousins for someone like that. And these are not top of the top.
Darren Waller had multiple top-end fantasy seasons with
exactly
Derek
what I was
Carr.
thinking
Yeah.
of. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think you'd rather a quarterback who's not overall as good, but who actually throws it over Lamar for your fantasy weapons.
Lamar threw it. He threw it to Mark Andrews.
Yeah, but you can't.
If you look at Mark
Andrews'
Andrews' targets, they're among.
You
the
can't
top
rely
last
on them
5
having
years, I
nothing
guarantee
else.
They're probably right
Again.
behind Travis Kelce.
You can't rely on them having nothing else again. And Mark Andrews is not Travis Kelce.
He'd be second.
Yeah, he's not Travis Kelce in that.
No,
I wasn't comparing him to Travis Kelce. I'm saying he would have the second most targets of a tight end over the last 4 years. If I had to
absolutely.
guess,
He's elite, but he'd be even better if he had a quarterback who threw the ball more often, because your target share is what's sticky more than the number of targets, right? The target share is stickier than the number of targets.
Well,
so if
his
the target
share is fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want the pie to be bigger.
So that's what he's saying. Like a quarterback,
You would rather
the ball more than
more
Lamar.
passing.
Yeah.
You would rather there be more passing. So that's what I'm saying. Because I think Andrews is good enough to succeed with almost anybody, but you want there to be a bigger pie. especially to accommodate potential new receivers on the Ravens. Which
Just
there needs to be.
remembering last year with Tyler Huntley, he was bad. He was bad.
Oh, it was really bad.
Yeah.
It was
But Derek Carr's not Tyler Huntley, so
no. Derek Carr
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Derek Carr
so
has been supporting fantasy weapons all
Yeah,
over the board for
Yeah,
his entire career.
I'm
Matt
cool with
Collins.
that statement.
Not that he's a superstar, but he's been, his fantasy.
But I would
weapons
be
have been fine.
concerned with Mark Andrews, for instance, with Tyler Huntley.
Well, that would be very
concern me.
that would
Exactly.
be very,
That's
very
all I'm saying.
concerning.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Huntley is just a discount Lamar. He can't throw either.
Yeah.
That's all
Tyler Huntley literally does not do one thing better than Lamar. Like,
No, zero things.
Like, look at his
Yeah.
like Madden stats. I don't know this if there is anything better, but if I had to create my own Madden stats, Tyler Huntley wouldn't be better at one thing.
This is a wide receiver room. It's interesting.
I think that may have been referring to the Metcalf thing from earlier.
Oh, okay. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Oh,
Generally,
so you got
we
good
want
wide
to
receivers.
we want to
Yeah.
trade for we want to we can trade for need, but I always think that we need to focus on value. Drafting for value is very important. I don't know. Someone that I know said that once. So and I
Draft
was
for
in
value, trade for need.
Yeah, no, someone said that like 4 years ago, and it's really stuck with me ever since. It couldn't be anyone we know, right?
No.
Rocky, we wouldn't know that. You weren't even
No.
on the show when that was said.
Probably no. Yeah,
It was
I don't know
years
who that
before.
guy- yeah.
I've been listening to that show way before you were on it. I remember when
I was listening to that show way before I was on it.
Well, that's probably true. I remember your first episode, actually. I remember your first episode. It was very, very interesting. You were very
Right.
nervous.
I was, and I remember
were
Russ,
very
Russ
nervous.
lost the fantasy title is my first episode
Oh,
while we
really?
were recording. Yeah, because we used
Oh,
to
wow.
record on Monday nights, and it was the
Oh, yeah, you did used to record on Monday nights.
yeah, and the game would be
I remember
going
that.
on. I remember it was a Diggs and Allen, and he needed like a few more points from Diggs or something, and they got pulled at the end of the game because they were blowing somebody out.
I think it was the Patriots.
I think I won
Yeah, I
the
think you're
fantasy
right.
title that way.
And they did
Because of
great.
those
I
results.
think they kept him in the game or something, but I think it might have been
The
Allen. I think it
last
was one of them.
touchdown was the touchdown from Josh Allen that pushed me over the top. So I remember that game.
Yeah.
Trade Isaiah Likely for Jalen Warren. This last part is not too important to me. So interesting. Isaiah Likely, I feel like, is overrated,
So do I.
overhyped. He's-
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice
No,
little
no, he's
player,
very
maybe,
good.
but he's like,
He's behind Mark Andrews.
yeah. And everyone says, well, they don't have anybody else. They can throw to Andrews and Likely. We're lucky that Andrews gets enough targets, and like Tyler was saying, I mean, maybe if the quarterback changes, the volume will change, but I don't think there's ever going to be enough to feed two different tight ends in any offense.
Yeah.
that make
I
him
think
fantasy
people
relevant.
would be surprised at how little Isaiah Likely actually did in 2022. It's good for a rookie tight end, but it's not even the best or near the best among this group of rookies. Like, there were players in this group of rookies who did better, than he did. Daniel Bellinger had similar per game production, just missed some time. It was far more efficient on the targets he received
Mhm.
than Isaiah Likely. And then there were other players. I mean, Greg Dulcich was infinitely better. For some reason, I feel like there was like a fascination with Isaiah Likely that I don't really understand. In terms of Jalen Warren, well, I do like him, but I don't know. The ADP says that Isaiah Likely is worth more. I don't really agree.
I do.
I'd
hard to
rather.
I
find.
think they're close.
I'd rather have Warren just because of the whole thing. You hear a lot of fantasy analysts talk about loading up on those backup running backs because when they're going to score you points, and if Najee gets hurt,
I think also the chances of what's more likely that Baltimore adds like two high-end wide receivers or that the Steelers add another running back. Because to be honest, I think it's more likely that considering Eric DeCosta's comments about Rashad Bateman,
DeAndre Hopkins is coming in, bro.
yeah,
He's
that's
already in
very
Baltimore.
unlikely.
Let's go.
You see the plane land?
DeAndre Hopkins.
you track the plane. Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins, I don't want people to get overly excited, but I have a feeling, just a feeling that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a Chief. Just a feeling. You know, there's
Interesting.
I can't say anything more about it than that, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens.
The fantasy implications.
Wouldn't that be exciting? Wouldn't that
Yes.
be great? I think we would all
seriously
be very
though.
excited.
Oh, like that, he'd be a top 5 drafted wide receiver next season, right?
Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and you add DeAndre Hopkins to the team. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I think he'd be a top 5 drafted wide receiver in fantasy next season.
I
Right?
do think the odds of the Steelers adding a running back are almost zero. Like anyone of anything other than, you know, you can always draft around 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah, I was about to say round 5 maybe.
You always can. You can sign a veteran like, you know,
Samaje Perine.
no. Samaje Perine actually I think is too
He would
good.
steal a job.
Samaje Perine I actually think is out of their range of price. I was more talking about someone like
I literally
Darrell
just, it was
Williams.
the first veteran free agent
Or
running
Matt
back that came to
Breida.
mind.
that level. Samaje Perine, I legitimately think look good and is going to sign somewhere where he is expected to do more than just carry the water bottle.
And I'll say this, Jaylen Warren, you were kind of mentioning it. He looked really good for what he was asked to do in that offense. I thought he was very impressive. He looked more explosive than Najee. I mean, he's faster, but kind of remind me of Isaiah Pacheco a little bit. Just explosive, raw. I don't know.
Really?
No,
I think no. It's a little different for me. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco does nothing as a pass blocker in the passing game. Jaylen Warren is competent in those areas. Jaylen Warren to me is
you
just
see
more,
Isaiah Pacheco in the playoffs. He was catching passes all over the place.
I don't know about that.
He was. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't,
I
game with
wouldn't
like 8 catches, I think.
I mean, yeah, you know, that can happen, but throughout the season, he wasn't used that way. But I do think Jaylen Warren is someone that, you know, is just kind of a boring version of the starter that they have.
I think he looks explosive. I don't know.
Sometimes.
Add a little bit.
But
of
you always look
electricity to that
explosive
offense.
when you have only a few touches a game. It's always easier to look
That's true.
explosive when you don't have to carry 15 times.
Sure.
I think Najee
not
Harris, if he
the-
only had
like,
5
he-
carries a game, would be more explosive.
She's bigger, you know. He's he's a grinder a little bit more. Hey, JR.
Why can't my wife just tell me what she wants for dinner? Why do I need to guess?
I've heard the thing. You give them 2 options, and then they feel good because they're making a decision. They feel it feels easy to them because it's 2
Wow.
options you like, and there you go.
Or they just say, I don't know, whatever you want.
Yeah, that's what
like
you're gonna
that
say, and then it'd be like, oh, I don't know, what do you want? I don't know.
But what do you want?
Yeah.
And then you give them one option. It's like, okay, what about this? It's like,
That's what happens when we want to talk about going to a restaurant. It's like, I don't know. I'll go here. Why don't we go here? Or why don't we go here? Yeah.
I feel like Tyler doesn't do that as much.
Do what?
The whole back and forth.
No, everyone
do-
just does
you
what
do
I
too?
tell them to do.
Okay. Yes. I was just thinking,
That is
thinking about
such-
doing that
that
with
is like
you.
such a
Eventually, Tyler
Tyler
would just be
line.
like, you know what? We're just doing it.
That's the real me coming out, by the way. Like I always say it. Like the show persona is a toned down version of the real thing. That's the real me, like slipping out that I try not to let slip out on the show. It's worse, more this than I am on the show. I like actively try to like keep myself like a little quieter than I really am. Andrew, give 103 and 105, get 101 and 110. Yeah,
I know
that's
where
not
I'm
enough for
going.
101.
yeah. It's the
Yeah, 101 I feel like is worth more.
Yeah.
103 looks better than it did though.
Oh yeah.
And the 105.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'd say so.
Feels even to me. I don't know. I really like that 105.
I understand. I understand why you say that. Seriously.
It's that 105, 106 range. You're going to get a good prospect this year,
Yeah.
it seems like. If the draft, I know Grinding the Mocks released their new stuff today. If it goes anything like that, I think we're good. It's like 105, 106.
Tell me more
107.
about that mock. What are some of the things that it said?
I got to go look at it again because it's all the mocks. It's new mock. It's a collective.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Takes a consensus of all the
It's
mock
a
drafts
consensus
and
of
kinda
all the
puts
mock
them
drafts and they
into-
round up the
Yeah, I mean,
data.
I use NFL mock draft database for that, but I feel like that's always a little bit behind.
Yeah, I've heard of Grinding Mocks. I've heard that's one of.
Yeah.
I looked at it a lot last year, and
I just like the
a good
layout for
resource.
that for the mock draft database site. It's
Mhm.
very, very easy to click through, and you can get all the info in one place. So that's why I like it.
it's the 101 though.
I would agree with that.
That's the 101.
What would you add to Watson for Lamar? Well, I'd like to get rid of Watson because I don't like him. And, I like having fun. Yeah, stunningly, I care about something other than winning, Rocky.
I don't.
Yeah, I know you don't.
No, I just I can compartmentalize it. So
Yeah,
I know some people don't
it's
want
like
to do that.
It's the one thing where like Russ and I have anything in common.
Yeah.
As like actually playing, because otherwise we couldn't be more different. I'm
See, the
probably
way I
more-
view it is I'm not rostering Deshaun Watson. I'm rostering Deshaun Watson's stats.
Yeah, I see that. You should hear some of the stuff I've said about Deshaun Watson on this show. It's let's just say that I don't like him.
I don't blame you.
Well, I even offered.
I don't like Deshaun Watson, the human being,
too.
either.
I think I offered at some point that, I'm from New York. There's a lot of people who are into fashion. I offered to get him fitted for his orange jumpsuit. I thought I was very generous in offering to get him fitted for that. But yeah, I don't really like Deshaun Watson, and he looked horrible. And, maybe he's a little distracted and there are other things going on. So
He did look.
He doesn't
bad.
have his
I don't
normal
know.
release.
I expected him to look bad when he
I don't think you
when he
expected
came
him to
back.
look that bad. I mean, there's a difference between bad and
I think we all expected him to look rusty at least the
But
first
not
game,
this bad.
maybe a game 2. But
this
like, yeah,
was
he
a
didn't really
level
ever
of
put it
bad I
together.
don't think I
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
I still expected him to be an improvement on Jacoby Brissett, and he was not.
No, it's weird.
He was not only not an improvement,
Jacoby
it was a
Brissett
clear
was
step.
impressive though. On the other hand, kind of.
Uh,
Or what Jacoby
to
Brissett is.
be
for sure.
really honest with you, I think we only say that in knowing how bad Watson was. Jacoby Brissett, like in isolation.
No. I think it's more that I expected Jacoby Brissett to be horrible. I think that's probably more what it is a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he did about what I expected. He averaged 163. It was in his 11 starts. Okay, he had 2,600. He only had 12 passing touchdowns though, in 11 starts, and even playing throughout the whole season. He did have his best completion percentage of his career. Yards per attempt was 7.1, which is nothing special. I mean, he was fine. It's what you expect from I would expect your average competent NFL backup on a roster as good as what the Browns had to offer to do something similar. I wasn't overly impressed. I heard a lot of people saying that Jacoby Brissett should get a starting job in 2023 based on that performance. And I was like, no, he should get another backup job. He showed he can do the job.
Definitely a good backup job though.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's been some talk around here that he could come to the Eagles.
That would be a good fit.
Makes
Because
sense.
That'd be a good fit.
Minshew's contract is up. So
Yeah, Minshew, I think, is going to go somewhere where their path to potentially starting is a little more open.
yeah.
Not saying he's going to be a starter because I don't think so. But I don't think he's going to be a starter. But, where Minshew could sign somewhere with someone Jalen Hurts is one of the more established quarterbacks in the league at this stage.
Yes.
Like, if Minshew signed, I'd expect him to sign somewhere at least a little more up in the air. Even if it's only a little bit more, like Green Bay with Jordan Love.
Versus Jarrett Stidham in Las Vegas.
They could sign Minshew instead and then go after Will Levis. I just don't think Jarrett Stidham is even good enough to be a placeholder.
No, yeah, I was joking. Yeah, I don't think.
But I actually think it's a good suggestion. They could sign Gardner Minshew because if they just have Jarrett Stidham and go into the NFL draft, then it's so obvious what they're doing, right? We know what they're going to do. But if they sign Gardner Minshew, at least that's someone who's been a real starter before for more than one game.
Yeah, and if they do get a Levis or something, if they want to, they could use Minshew as a bridge for,
A couple games.
Yeah. Do the
I could see
Tyrod
that.
Taylor thing.
Or, there's always Tennessee, I feel like, needs a backup quarterback. I'm serious. Malik Willis is that guy.
Oh, I'm with you.
You saw me get rid of him. God.
I did, yeah.
God. I'm so happy. It's one of my worst draft picks ever. It's like, it seemed like such a good idea. I think I had sent over 50 offers to try to get rid of him until from when I drafted him to that moment. I could not have been more excited. Somehow I got a 25. That one you talked about on Trade Addicts. That one was big enough for you to talk about. And you preferred, all of you preferred my side. I was very happy.
But yeah, there was a guy in one of the Trade Addicts leagues had a bunch of picks in the second. I think he drafted Willis, Ritter, and Corral. That did not work out so well.
Ritter wasn't bad.
Ritter is not good.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I don't.
For the return on investment, you could probably recoup your pick that you used on Ritter.
Especially now they're not going
In an
after
early
Lamar.
second, it sounds like he used. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was
I'm
anyone
not
picking
paying
Ritter in
second.
the early second? Last
He's
year? I mean,
going
that's not where his
mid-second.
ADP was.
Oh, I just heard what you see.
Yeah.
What Rocky was saying.
He
There are
was
worse
he was
things.
going in the mid-second ish almost everywhere I saw.
I mean, I just wrote about this. A different article. I got back to writing. Isn't this exciting? Aren't the
Very
people
exciting.
excited? But yeah, I think he went. What was the 210 in 2022 May?
Oh, I saw him go a lot higher. Maybe not a lot higher, but higher than that in many leagues that I was in.
Higher than I thought. 17. I wouldn't have
Yes,
done
that's like the 205.
205.
That's about where I would say I was seeing him going.
Yeah,
on
that was a
average.
mistake. I didn't have him ranked there. Willis was 204. I had him. I mean, I got them, but I believe I picked Willis at the 211.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in it. The only one I was even taking a little bit was Corral, and that was only because he was going more late second, early third, and I would draft him.
What
there.
I've learned is that we're past the point, and this is Superflex strategy, so we'll actually talk about it for a second. We're past the point of any quarterback being worth a first or anywhere near it. Like,
Any what?
anywhere near it. Like, I don't think
any
you
of
can
those
get-
quarterbacks.
No, it's
I
more
think
like
there used to be like any starting
Every starting
quarterback you had to
quarterback.
get. a
Oh,
third
I see.
year.
I see
Yeah.
what
You're saying. I see what you're
like
saying. I see
you
what you're
cannot get in most leagues from people who are competent. You can't get a 24 first for Geno Smith or Mac Jones anymore. Not from people who know what they're doing. Even Matthew Stafford or someone more established, I feel like you're going to struggle. Maybe you'll get a 24 first for Russell Wilson. Maybe for Jared Goff or Derek Carr. Maybe. Most people I feel like aren't even getting that. So like we're already at over half the starting quarterbacks are not worth a 24 first. So it's not what it used to be. So the point of that story is that if you take someone with who wasn't picked in the first round in like the early second, your value upside, unless you get picked the one Jalen Hurts, of which there's one every 5 years, your value upside is minimal and your value downside is most of the value range. Like Desmond Ritter and Malik Willis have actually lost value, despite the fact that Desmond Ritter started a few games. It wasn't bad, has still lost value off of that 205 selection.
I think people think the Falcons are going to draft a quarterback or bring in someone else.
Right, but I'm saying you pretty much got what you wanted from Desmond Ritter,
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
were hoping for. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you were hoping for, and he still didn't gain value. Because of course people think they're going to replace him because he only had third round draft capital. And like, how good did you expect him to be in year one? So even like you got everything you wanted and he still didn't gain value. So what you shouldn't have picked him at 205 in the first place. If you picked him at 212 or around there, then you had some value to gain. There was some upside, but at 205, no.
I think some people just thought he would win the job outright, just
those
be the
people were
starter
delusional.
after the first couple weeks, maybe.
Right, but those people were delusional and always were.
I didn't.
So
I'm not saying I
it's
thought
never my job to help people not be delusional. I can't do that. Like that's just not going to be like there are always going to be people that are delusional. But what I've learned is that those people are not actually coming to me for advice. So
I do think people thought he would get the job at some point in the season, which he did. And I do think at that point you could at least get your second back, if not a little more at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you took him in at 205, the value upside, if you're only looking to get a second back, the value upside is limited.
Right.
Whereas if you
you're maybe getting 2 seconds at best, like at that point. Or something.
I didn't really see anything like that though.
Yeah, no.
But if he wins that job early in the season, I bet you someone might trade a first round pick, a future first round pick.
I really think we are past that. I really do. I really don't see that.
Just anymore. Like if he won the job early in the season, but he would probably have to have a good game.
I just don't see that anymore. I think this has been talked about a lot on Dynasty Pods lately, not just mine or this show. I hear this all the time, that the market is getting smarter, that things that worked 3 years ago don't work now. Like you can't just trade the older running back for a young running back coming in a first like you used to be able to. You can't. That doesn't happen. Like you can't just trade these quarterbacks, these crappy quarterbacks, for a late first or early second, like clockwork. You can't do that either. Like it has changed. So since it's changed, you have to adjust your strategy accordingly. And my recommendation is to avoid these non-first round quarterbacks. In the early second, or push them down to the late second at a minimum. So I won't be having any Hendon Hooker in the mid second this year. I'm not going to do that, especially since he's going to be injured. That's even worse. He's not even going to play. So I definitely don't want him.
Right,
yeah. Luckily this year, there's 4 good quarterbacks. I think that people will be more excited for. 3 because Will Levis sucks.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't know about 4 good quarterbacks. Yeah.
But 4 that are going to go in the top 10.
That's the key. Yeah, the 4 highly valued quarterbacks might be the better way to put it.
Rocky, I know that you don't like quarterback at all.
Everybody says I don't like. It's not that I don't like. I just don't like paying up for quarterback. I think it's too much, and you don't need to.
Yeah, I think also that the market is more with you than ever.
Yes.
It's more with you than ever.
And honestly, last year was like people say like because Mahomes and Hurts and Allen or whoever were so much better. That sort of proves you need to get the good quarterback. Like to me, that last year proved you don't, because it was like 3 or 4 guys and then everyone else. And I'm sure tons and tons of people won Dynasty fantasy titles without Burrow or Mahomes or Allen or Hurts. I don't think that just gave you, that only those people were winning titles last year.
Yeah, I think we tend to agree that you can get a bunch of the late, quarterbacks, and that the mid quarterbacks are overvalued. I think I still like the top quarterbacks a lot more than you.
Yeah, you do. Most people do.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like them. I just don't like paying for them or the value I have to give for them.
Generally, guys like a lot of, I guess some of your favorites are often some of the players I avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I probably like the mid-tier quarterbacks more than you do too. Like,
depending on which ones they are.
I hope you're a Cousins guy, Tyler.
I'm not.
Cousins.
If you were 5 years younger, maybe. But he's not.
Yeah, I'd say.
How do you feel about that Geno Smith contract? That made you interested in a mid-tier quarterback kind of?
I'd rather have Geno Smith at his price than Kirk Cousins at his, if that's what you're asking.
That's the thing. Cousins all of a sudden this last year or so was finally like people actually like him a little bit, so it's gotten kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's why I'm totally out.
Yeah, but that's for years and years, you could, when he was younger, you could get him for a cheaper price than you can probably get him now.
Daniel Jones is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Daniel Jones.
Put him on the block.
Daniel Jones. Yeah, I don't have.
Put him on the block and let the market decide.
I think he's a little overvalued right
now. I have him in 2 Dynasty Superflex leagues. I've been trying to trade him, and I feel like I'm giving off. Maybe this is going to your point you made earlier, Tyler, that people just aren't falling for it now.
I'm not trying to swindle anyone, though. I'm throwing out creative trades. I'm doing so much, and it just doesn't seem like anyone. I mean, they're saying they want Daniel Jones because they need a quarterback, but they're like, I don't really want Daniel Jones,
I mean, I think he's worth a late first.
I have Daniel Jones almost exactly equivalent in value to the 108, so I would agree.
Yeah. And he gives you the rushing upside. I think last year was probably his best year running the ball ever, right?
Like, yeah,
Oh, definitely.
I would.
Yeah.
I would rather have a lot of these quarterbacks over if the choice is that or taking Will Levis, who I don't like. So that's kind of inform my ranking of these middling quarterbacks that are worth in the mid to later first range to see. It'll help me sort them.
I'm curious, sir. You keep mentioning Levis. So I haven't dove into the quarterbacks as much as I will before the draft, but I'm not. I know his combine was ridiculous, but I'm not super high on. No, not Levis. Richardson. That's what I was about to say. I was curious where you're at on Richardson.
His combine was ridiculous.
With Richardson, well, in Superflex right now, I have him ranked at 104. So
is that just in terms of value and where you think he's going to go, or do you think he's going to be a good quarterback?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a good real life quarterback, but I think he's going to be good for fantasy as long as he's playing. And we had the same concerns about Lamar to a degree, and it's been fine. So and Lamar went at 32 overall, or 31 or 32, and Richardson is going to go top 10. So he's going to get multiple chances.
Who knows?
There's an argument to have Richardson at 102. I mean, he has more fantasy upside than either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I mean, I could see it. I've actually heard that often.
And he's not a tiny little man like Bryce Young.
Bryce Young is very short. I've heard that often, that Anthony Richardson should be 102 or even 101. I've heard that. I don't agree with
I'm not there yet.
I don't agree.
101 in rookie drafts?
That's what I've heard that quite often.
It's not happening.
I agree with you. I think it's crazy, but I have heard it. But I do think at this point, I think it's gotten to the point where he has shown enough upside and will have the draft capital that, he should be in with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, even though we don't like him as much as a real life prospect. His lack of, or his fantasy upside makes up for his more higher risk in real life, if that makes sense. And I'll have the draft capital. If he doesn't have the draft capital, I'll move him down, but he's not going to fall that far.
I
think he's going to have the draft capital. Yeah.
Yeah. The lowest.
I mean, it could be like a Justin Fields thing, where it falls to 14,
Still we're in.
I think that's unlikely.
Yeah. And that's falling, right? I don't think it would hurt him that much in terms of.
But the difference is that Anthony Richardson interviewed well and Justin Fields didn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's important. It can't be underestimated.
It is important. It's more important than I think people think. But
we don't think about it because we're not seeing those interviews.
I do.
And we don't
I think it's an
matter
edge, to be honest.
Sorry, when I said we, I just meant the average dynasty person, I guess.
I think it's an edge. I think there's a lot of players who interviewed very poorly that in retrospect, it is something to keep an eye on if someone is really not hitting the notes. But I don't think there was any player that stood out at this combine for that player they rubbed me the wrong way. There wasn't that kind of player like Baker Mayfield. That would be an example of a player who just didn't rub me the wrong way from the start. And maybe I should have factored that in a little bit.
Speaking of the interview process, why do those teams still ask these bizarrely weird questions? Come on now.
But no, the questions they asked Anthony Richardson were fair. They were questions about accuracy. I mean, those are the questions. Those are questions people want to know. I mean, he was not very accurate in college.
I'm not talking about accuracy. I'm talking about if you were stranded on a boat, what 3 items would you take?
That is
Stuff
a ridiculous
like that.
question. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. But I give Anthony Richardson credit for the way he answered questions about his weaknesses in college. He did a good job of not blaming everyone else and not making excuses. Dave talked about this on yesterday's show. So you can still go back and watch his conversation about that. He was there. I wasn't there, but you can watch Anthony Richardson's videos. I suggest you do that. You're going to make a pick in Dynasty. You're going to have this player for a long time. You might as well get as much information about them as possible. Let's look at this one. Pacheco or Rondale Moore? Blockbuster.
It's pretty easily Pacheco for me.
It's a tough one.
I just am not a big believer in Rondale Moore.
Neither am I.
And I think Pacheco's probably got that job for next year, which is all,
Really?
that's fine enough to, You don't think so?
Oh, I definitely don't think so. No.
David Montgomery's coming.
You think they're going
I
to
don't-
sign someone or draft someone?
I have heard quite a few things that they're interested in taking a running back very early.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard that.
Gibbs?
They think that they have receiver to address. They have running back to address. Honestly, those are the two biggest needs. To me, those are the two biggest weaknesses. They have some weaknesses, not many. Those are actually two big problems. Receiver is a problem. Running back is a problem. I think they're going to address one of those via high-priced free agent or something. DeAndre Hopkins, hopefully, at wide receiver. And then the other one they'll address with whatever they don't address via that process. But there was some discussion of them being in on potentially Jahmyr Gibbs at that 31 pick. It's a good value, potentially an option. But they also have other picks. You know, this is a deep running back class. I think that if they don't want to go running back in the first, I think the second round, you know, someone like competent, like Zach Charbonnet, kind of hits all the boxes. Isaiah Pacheco does not hit all the boxes. They could use someone who you could really trust with a starter's workload. They want someone a little more flashy. Devon A-Chain would work well. Could be there at 64. Doubt it. Honestly, I think he'll be gone. Teams love the speed. But Zach Charbonnet would be the one that I would think they would be linked to if they were going in the second. Jahmyr Gibbs, if they went in the first. In terms of a free agent, it is David Montgomery, someone who's good at everything, doesn't excel in anything, but you can trust with your starting role. No pass protection meltdowns, no dropped passes, no running the wrong way. These are all things that running backs on the Chiefs have done in recent years. So I would say that Isaiah Pacheco concerns me. Rondale Moore also concerns me, though. Also concerns me. No quarterback. I mean, no quarterback this year. And it is terrifying for me with Rondale Moore that Greg Dortch came in, played the same role, and nothing changed. Nothing. Except the name on the back of the jersey. Nothing.
Greg
did
Dortch
Rondale Moore
probably
add.
produced better than Rondale Moore did.
I believe Rondale Moore was a little bit better, and he
Okay.
was given the role.
I remember Dortch having some pretty consistent fantasy scoring for a little while there.
Moore did as well for the limited period of time that when he played, he got that role completely to himself. Now there is no more Kingsbury, so that role doesn't exist.
Right.
Like that role was a Kingsbury thing. So I don't know what that's going to look like next year. But I will say that, you know, it's terrifying that a nobody came in and did the exact same thing, and Rondale Moore seemed to add nothing versus that player. So I am scared of that. I guess I'll take Pacheco because I don't want either of these, but whichever one I take, I want to get them off my team immediately.
That's a good point. I think Pacheco is more likely to lose value throughout the offseason, though. That's my only problem. I do think Pacheco has more value right now, and I do want to get both these guys off my team right now. It's just like you said, I think Pacheco is more likely to get replaced than Rondale Moore. So, and if he does, then he has no value. So,
Rondale Moore could get replaced too.
Yeah, but DeAndre Hopkins is going to be gone, right?
Yeah, but when DeAndre Hopkins is gone, there's going to be draft capital that comes back with that. And Arizona's in play to trade down from number 3 because they're not going to pick a receiver at 3. But if they trade down from 3,
They're not trading.
there's going to be even more potential draft capital to draft a wide receiver. And I think a wide receiver is kind of a reasonable thing for them to do to start rebuilding their young talent on the team. You don't want to pick a running back if you're going to suck in year 1, but a wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pick a running back or wide receiver. Probably.
Well, I think they might if they trade DeAndre Hopkins away.
They could take a wide receiver, top of round 2. But they're not.
Yeah, they absolutely could.
They're not trading down from 3.
Brown, though, too.
And well, they could trade down from 3 if a team is so enamored. I mean, what if a team offers
good package? Yeah.
What if Carolina offered you 9 and a 24 first and another pick in this year's draft? You wouldn't be interested in that? I might be interested in that. I don't know. Arizona is like 20 players away from being a competent roster. Not one. So they're so far. They trading down, I think, would be a great move for them. They are one of the worst disasters in the NFL.
I know, but Will Anderson is a premier talent.
He's so freaking good. Will Anderson's so freaking good. He's amazing.
You want to build
no,
around
I get that. I just, quarterback prices that people are willing to pay up is insane.
And I mean,
I'm with Ryan.
The rumor is on the street that the Texans might not even take a quarterback. So like,
Oh, that's bullshit.
they're calling about Jimmy G, aren't they?
They would still take a quarterback if they pick Jimmy G, but
the second round always has really good wide receivers. So still to your point, wide receivers is definitely not out of it.
And they would have another second round pick after trading Hopkins, because that's going to be the return for Hopkins, apparently.
I mean, I could highlight 3 names that grinding the mocks here.
Well, there's so many rookies that could go in the second round. I mean, at 35, like Josh Downs could still be there.
You want me to bring the board up real quick?
I don't think we need it.
Okay. All right.
Peyton?
In the context of free agency, but no, because we were talking about people in their prime.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was not really. That's actually probably the closest I can think of.
But he's
he was
to Drew
still
Brees because he had
he had the injury. There were question marks. Yeah. Cutting Kenny Golladay. Giant. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate this question, but
what kind of chips though?
Oh, chips, Ryan. Oh, I don't know. Mayo coffee. What about ranch coffee? What do we think about that?
I don't drink any coffee, so I'm the wrong person to answer this question.
I don't know. No, both are gross. Oh. I mean, you don't need to drink coffee to understand how gross this is, right?
Well, yes, I definitely think that both sound pretty disgusting. Yes.
I like coffee black and nothing else.
I like a little cream, little sugar if it was my just optimal coffee, but I drink coffee black plenty.
Andrew's best games ever in his career were with Huntley. Yeah, 2021 though.
I was looking at stats. He's got 1 or 2 games that are better than that, but you're pretty close. You're pretty close.
What jersey number is Rodgers taking with 12 being retired? I think if Rodgers comes to New York, they'll unretire 12.
I'm pretty sure they already said they would.
Joe Namath?
Pretty sure that they already.
I'm pretty sure Joe already said that he would.
Yeah.
He would what?
He would unretire the
number.
Really?
So
I'm pretty sure he did say that. Yes, I think that's real news.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's been talked about.
Dude got a banger against.
I was just gonna say his number would be 1 because that's all Rodgers cares about is number 1.
Rocky, I almost said the same exact thing. I swear.
But how can he even see what number he cares about? Because he spends all his time in the darkness.
That's true.
And he gets all of his news. I think the most interesting thing that's going to happen. And this is at the risk of saying this, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say it anyway. I think the most exciting thing is that Aaron Rodgers is going to play, if he goes to the Jets, for a team owned by Woody Johnson, the owner of Johnson & Johnson, who he criticized and blamed for a lot of things. That, I think, is going to be the most interesting craziness that comes out of all of this, that would actually be the case. As crazy as that is, given what he said about that company. You can go watch Aaron Rodgers' interviews on the Pat McAfee show if you have nothing better to do with your life, which I don't know. I think this is a much better use of your time. It'll actually help you win something.
Definitely finish up here first.
Over watching Aaron Rodgers videos. Mark Andrews benefits from the threat of Lamar running.
He does.
Not for fantasy, though, because for fantasy, the threat of Lamar running takes away potential target pie. But in terms of real life NFL, absolutely. There's always a difference between real life NFL.
There's a little bit of a correlation, though, to Lamar Jackson running and Mark Andrews just being a little bit more open and having more time.
Yeah,
to get
but the biggest correlation is more pass attempts means bigger target pie means more fantasy points. Remember, as I always say, I said it earlier, I'll repeat it if anyone wasn't watching earlier. It's target share that's sticky more than overall number of targets. The quarterback drives the offense. There's a reason it's the most important position in the NFL. And there's a reason why it has such wide-ranging effects on our fantasy teams. Because it does. And we have to recognize that. It's why DJ Moore has never really given us what we want.
Don't remind
this is
me.
A comment we were talking about 2 tight ends. Let's on the same team together. And
Isaiah Likely is
that's the exception that proves the rule. Too.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, I think, is the closest thing that
And
we
Dallas
had
Goedert
to
was
that.
never even like
Yeah.
barely startable when Zach.
Yeah, he
Ertz
was barely
playing, yeah.
startable. I just don't see it with Isaiah Likely. For me, he's a sell because if they add some more wide receivers, his share of already small target pie is not going to increase, because I think that Isaiah Likely was more targeted out of necessity. And I think that wide receivers that are added are going to be more talented than he is, which will hurt him.
And you said Goddard and Ertz is the closest, and Goddard wasn't even that startable. Goddard was a
No,
better
you
tight
would
end.
know. I mean, Philadelphia fan,
and-
you would know that he was not.
Goddard was a better
Yeah.
prospect, tight end prospect than Likely was.
Oh, I
and,
mean, that's
and
not even
Andrews is better
close.
than, and that's what I'm saying. And Andrews
Yeah.
is better than Ertz ever was. So what makes you think Likely's
Wow.
going to produce with Andrews when Goddard couldn't produce with Ertz? So
That's pretty good. I think people should replay that when they're thinking about Isaiah Likely. I like that logic. I think that's really all we
well,
need.
thank you.
And it is probably the best comp, by the way, Tyler. I like that.
There just isn't much else.
Yeah.
You know, it's two tight ends on the same team is not common.
Yeah.
Would you trade Calvin Ridley for the 202? Superflex, because it matters.
It
matters
does.
a lot.
Yeah.
But
I think I would. I think with Calvin Ridley, we have to remember that in 2021, he was not just bad. He was horrible.
I will say though, he even
Horrible.
before the whole, and maybe it was because of the gambling thing. There was, he originally had stepped away from mental health issues.
Yeah, but he was bad before that. He was
But
bad
I'm
when
saying
was
maybe
playing.
he was having those issues all season,
Maybe.
and then he stepped away.
But then that's possible. But as someone who struggled with a lot of these types of things, how do you know that if that's really the case, how do you know that it improved between now and then?
That's
then
true.
and now.
That's
Like,
true.
why could the same
Not like
things
he's
not?
had an easy go of it the last couple of years.
I think it's more likely that something happened between 2020 and 2021 that was negative of whatever cause, and then all of a sudden it's not as good. I'm not expecting Calvin Ridley to come back and be a wide receiver one. I think Christian Kirk is going to be the wide receiver one on that team.
He doesn't have to, though.
No, I agree with that. But to be worth the 202 at 28 years old, he has to
29 next season.
Yeah, he turns 29 in season. He has to, if he doesn't give you, he's not going to take the value route to recoup that pick. So he has to give you something on the field. And to recoup that value, he's got to give you like top 20. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And top 20 is asking a lot. I mean, on a team that had Christian Kirk play very well and who's not going anywhere. I mean, they committed a lot of money to him. Zay Jones actually he's not Calvin Ridley, but he played very well last year. I don't think he's going to just evaporate into thin air. And Evan Ingram is back, who also played well last year. I just think expecting top 20 from Calvin Ridley, he's not going to be ranked there for redraft. I think for redraft, he's probably going to be ranked somewhere in the 30.
Yeah.
Low 30s.
Yeah.
Between 30 and 35.
And you're out on him completely.
At a 202 price, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm out.
So yeah,
I don't-
Superflex, non-Superflex, 202 for me.
And Pat Fryermuth over all of them.
I was just gonna say I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but I'd rather have Pat Fryermuth over the 202.
Oh, that's a whole separate.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I'd rather have Pat Fryermuth is very undervalued. I do not understand. Honestly, I don't understand. Maybe this will be a hot take. I really don't think it is. I think it's just name recognition. Why is George Kittle worth more? Why? Because he's named George Kittle? Because he's paid more? Because he's better in the real NFL? Why is George Kittle worth more?
Because he has boom games that Pat Fryermuth hasn't really had.
5 years older. George Kittle's going to be 30 in
yeah.
September. Why is he worth more? He doesn't really produce consistently for fantasy. He disappears 13 of the 17 games. Quarterback situation is terrifying. It's either Brock Purdy with one arm or Trey Lance, who has delivered 0 as a passer since 2019.
It's because they have games where he gets like 2 touchdowns,
he's
100
named George
yards,
Kittle.
and then has like 3 huge stiff arms. So
It's because he's named George Kittle, though. I mean, George Kittle is the best blocking tight end in the NFL.
I mean,
Close
he had
to it.
8 really good games last year and missed 2 games. So I mean, like, I get it. I get why people are drafting
George
over
Kittle
Fryermuth.
averaged
it.
51 receiving yards a game last year, and he's almost 30.
He scored
he
a lot
had
of
the best
George Kittle-
touchdown year last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
He had
and-
11
I
touchdowns.
mean, like,
Yeah,
how much
but you've
we
never
love
been a
Mark
TD
Andrews.
guy,
How many
yeah.
yards per game did he have last year? You know, like, I don't know.
52.
But I don't know. I just see it. I see why people love George Kittle. I get it. I'm not saying it's right, but I get it.
But I think Pat Fryermuth is the one you want to target. So I would much rather have him over Calvin Ridley.
Kittle's also in a better offense.
Not if Trey Lance is playing. Not if Trey Lance is playing. Trey Lance is bad. Bad news. Bad news. We don't want.
I'm not convinced he's bad or good. I want to see.
I think
a
if he
more
were that
attractive sample
good,
size.
we would have seen something in this period of time.
He's only played like what, four?
Well, that's his fault. I
Parts
mean,
of 4 games.
If he were that good, I think they would have. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021 was had so many injuries, but he was still playing. If he was so great, maybe he would have had more of a chance during that period of time. Maybe he would have.
They did go to
done
the
something.
NFC Championship game in 21, didn't they?
Yeah, and Garoppolo was running on nothing. He was injured.
But
so
you're
many
not
different
gonna
injuries.
you're not gonna switch quarterbacks on a team that's on a run to the NFC Championship game.
I mean, you would say that, but Trey Lance didn't look good in the few
The
opportunities
49ers
that he had.
themselves kind of
Didn't
did
look
it,
good in camp.
during the Super Bowl run with Colin Kaepernick a little bit.
But nobody expected
because
him to
it
look
was-
good year 1.
And Trey Lance also, if they really believed in him, they made every effort. They hung on to Jimmy Garoppolo like a life raft in an ocean. They really believed in him. They wouldn't have cared, but they didn't believe in him. And I think that they've wanted to undo that trade and that pick since the moment they made it. I think they wanted a do-over. And now they have their do-over. And that do-over got hurt. But if that do-over was healthy, Brock Purdy, there's no conversation. There was no conversation. The conversation was over. Until Brock Purdy got hurt, there wasn't a debate. There wasn't a conversation. Brock Purdy was the starter. Now it's a conversation.
I still think they would have given Lance the job next year because they invested so much in him, and I think Brock Purdy's a little overrated. He was basically it's because he was Mr. Irrelevant that everyone got so excited about him. He was basically Jimmy Garoppolo with maybe a few less interceptions.
But that's pretty good for
And a lot
a
less
rookie.
money.
I just think that you need to look at you saw what happened with the Jets this year, right? With the Mike White t-shirts. Watch every 49ers player exit interview. You know who the starter was going to be. It was clear where the support was. It's all with after they lost. It's all with Brock Purdy. None with Trey Lance. It's all there. You can watch the interviews. It's like the Mike White t-shirts. You can kind of see where the vibe was going. It was Brock Purdy. Now we'll never know because now the injury happened. There's no way to ever know.
I just think
I'm adamant that it was Brock Purdy. It doesn't matter. Sunk cost.
Picks, you can't.
Sunk cost. If you trade away your
It's
first in
not like
Dynasty.
he was bad. You're saying he was bad, but he only played. How many full games did he play? 3?
You just don't have you don't own an NFL job just because there's a sunk cost. I mean, Ray GQ talked about this on his
But I think they're going to give him a chance. I'm not saying he owns it could have been
sure,
he
but you
gets
don't
6 games and then Brock Purdy starts because he was horrible or something.
You don't have the right to a chance either. Just because you say you don't lose your job to injury, but that's usually reserved for people who've actually done something.
I know what you're saying too, but I think that's not the way most NFL teams think. They're not going to say sunk cost, and we're not.
I think that's not the way most NFL teams think. I think most NFL teams would agree with you, and they would put Trey Lance back in. But Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have so much job security, and I really genuinely believe that this is the same people who pick running backs high and then ignore them and bench them for running backs who are picked later. Done it 3 times. These are the same people who put Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse because they wanted to. Nobody was telling them you can't do that. These people were going to go with Brock Purdy. On another team, you might have been right, but not this one. Now we'll never know.
I was going to say, you may be right, but
I'm adamant about this. It was very, very clear. But I am very as someone who's a big fan of, I don't want to say I'm a huge fan of Brock Purdy. I do think he's good. I am very, very sad that he got hurt because I really wanted to see him have the opportunity to play out, as a healthy offseason, but it sucks. Now, I want to talk about this one because we have everyone except me, Philly fans and Baltimore fans. Here.
So you're there.
How have we got into the point where we're adding? This is where we are. This would have been mind blowing a year ago, or even 2 years ago. It's crazy. We are now adding a late first and more to Lamar to get to Jalen Hurts, and I don't think that's people would say that that's crazy.
It's like me and Russ say every week. It's a shame Hurts isn't going to hold on to that job.
Oh my god, where were you on that? Where were you on that?
Me?
Yeah.
Last year I said that he was going to. Like, the guy's improved like literally every year of his career. Like, if you go back to college, he's just gotten better and better every year. And I was saying all last non-point scoring season that if I thought he didn't quite do this. Obviously he made a leap. I said he had a chance to make a leap, and I said if anyone has a chance to have like a break fantasy type Lamar MVP season, it would be Jalen Hurts. And I was actually buying Jalen Hurts even though he wasn't cheap, just because to me he was undervalued, and that proved right. I mean, he was being valued more like QB 10 to 12 last offseason, and now
he's like number 3 overall in Superflex.
Yes, exactly.
He was definitely being undervalued.
I actually have multiple shares of an elite quarterback now. So.
I know Hurts did me.
Now you got to trade him away though, because he's an elite quarterback. You can't have that.
I know.
You got to trade him away, right?
I keep them sometime. I need to get a haul. But I have a couple.
But you always can, though. You always can get a haul for an elite quarterback.
That's true.
What are your quarterbacks like in Trade Addicts 8? Well, let's see.
Probably pretty.
Let's see the Rocky quarterback. We have Tom Brady, Blaine Gabbert.
Do I not have a quarterback? I think I might not have a quarterback.
You have Stafford, Tannehill, Purdy.
Okay. I'm thinking
and Garoppolo. Yeah, you're
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good by your standards. I like what I have better.
If Purdy heals up, I may have 4 starters there.
Well, I have Lawrence, Herbert, and Lamar. So
I will never have a Lawrence.
That's pretty mid if you ask me.
Yeah. It feels a little mid, honestly. I have 105 and 106.
No Mahomes.
I actually do have. I have one team that has Burrow and Herbert. You'd be shocked.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is actually shocking.
Yeah, and I did win the title with that team too, but it wasn't all the quarterbacks.
Did we
Who do you think
answer
is
that last question?
Oh, did we answer this?
We did not. We started talking about stuff.
I'm like sitting here still
let's just give
in my head. I'm
let's
not
just
making
give an
the
answer.
trade personally. I couldn't make that trade, but I understand. I think it's pretty even, really.
What if I said give Lamar 301 and 201 for Hurts and 311?
The 201.
That wouldn't change it for much.
No,
me,
it does change it for a lot of the fact that it's a 2
Perspective,
instead of a 1, even though they're basically the same pick, it would make a difference to a lot of people.
No, it absolutely would. I agree with you in that regard, but I couldn't do it. I do think that Hurts should and is rightly ranked ahead of Lamar at this point, but there's like a year and a half difference between the two. I don't want to give a first round pick on top.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't actually in real life do this, but I think that might be about the right.
The value's there. The value's there.
Definitely is. And I mean, who knows what could happen if Lamar says, "Hey, I don't want to play." Like,
that would be insane.
It's
possible.
It's a possibility. Yeah, it's a higher than 0 chance that he says, "I'm not going to play."
And the other thing too is, I mean, we don't know where he's going to be. We don't know that he's, what that's going to mean. Like if he's the, Atlanta Falcons quarterback. I mean, he's still going to run the ball a lot.
Jalen Hurts is in probably the best situation you can ask for, right?
He's going to be signed for years and years and years to come. So like they're going to extend it.
The best situation you can ask for, but I know how Eagles fans are. I know how the Eagles.
Hey.
If he has one Lamar year, I'm just saying.
Nah.
No, yeah. No. We love Jalen Hurts here, but yeah,
I know you love him now.
Lamar could be in a new offense with a new coordinator, new playbook. We don't know how well they're going to use him. If how creative they'll be. I just So
lot more question marks with a lot more
Yes.
question marks with Lamar.
But that 112 could be someone like Josh Downs, who comes in and has a solid rookie season, gets drafted top of the second, and it's looking like a little bit of a lopsided deal that you would have given up.
Could also be someone like Jalen Reagor.
Don't remind me.
And let's not completely underestimate the third exchange here. That's a whole round right there. And I know it's a third round pick. I mean, like it's really nothing, but it's something. It's something. It's something.
Yeah. In general, I'd more be looking to do something like trading Hurts for Lamar plus in my actual dynasty leagues. As Tyler referred to earlier, I'm generally not adding to, especially if I have an elite quarterback like Lamar, mid elite, whatever you want to call them, the next tier down. I'm not really looking to add to get up higher. I'd probably be looking to trade down and get more. So yeah, and that's probably what I would do with Hurts too. Well, probably not with Hurts, just because I'm a little bit of a Homer Eagles fan. So
Yeah, you gotta have that bias sometimes. We root for,
yes.
All right. Who do you guys think is more likely to make a notable addition to their RB room, Bucks or Texans? Interesting.
It's a fair
That
question.
is interesting.
It's a really good question.
I was just about to say Bucks because they just released Leonard Fournette. It makes a lot of sense, but then I was like, but their running back rooms right now are pretty similar, and
They're strikingly similar.
Yeah.
Like they have one guy who was pretty good as a rookie and no one else. So both teams will make a notable addition to their running back room. Like they did, not if, when. Right?
What are you defining as notable? I don't know that the Texans are going to make a notable addition to their RB room. Someone that's clearly better than or equal to Dameon Pierce.
That's
what I would
better
call
or
notable.
equal. I mean, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
They have enough other needs. I don't think they're drafting someone particularly high, especially after hitting on Pierce last year. Why bother?
I think there's a good chance that they draft someone somewhere, but they can't go in with Pierce and Rex Burkhead.
Right, but I could see it being like a round 4 guy or something like that. Which I guess Pierce was too. So, but
yeah, I would just say that you can always sign. I mean, there's so many running back free agents. I think both teams sign someone okay and then see how the draft goes, and they're okay with not getting one. Like the kind of free agents I don't think these teams are going to be in on Miles Sanders.
Right.
Or
and I think that's probably
David
what I mean by
Montgomery.
notable.
But what I do think is that there's a risk that if the higher tier running back that they want comes at the right price, that they could take them. There's a risk of both of these teams. If I had to choose, I actually think the Bucks are a little bit more likely, but that's only because
Bijan mocked to them.
That's only because their first round pick is in the right spot for it.
Yeah.
Because I think they need it more. I actually have slightly more confidence in Rachaad White than Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I think the Bucks are just a little more likely just because I think the Texans are so bad that they're not going to worry about any significant running back additions.
Bucks could be scary.
Yeah, but they were. I still don't think they're like we're going into a full-on rebuild, and Mike Evans and Godwin look like they're going to still be there.
I think with the Bucks, they're cutting all of their players. Donovan Smith was cut today. That's another player cut. I think that if they don't have like some sort of real quarterback, that they are that. I mean, if their quarterback is Kyle Trask, they're gonna.
They probably are, but I don't think Kyle Trask is going to be the starter either.
Yeah, but they don't have access. They're not going to get to one of these good quarterbacks this year. At 19, they're way too far down. So who's going to be the quarterback?
I think they're going to try and be mediocre essentially and get like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, there we go. I linked Jimmy Garoppolo to them so much. I thought it made a lot of sense, but I haven't heard it. And I
haven't heard anybody linked to them. But I don't think they're going in with Kyle Trask either.
I know, but it's been weird. I haven't heard them interested in anyone, like linked to anyone doing anything. Whereas the Panthers and Saints, they'd signed Carr, but you heard about the Saints with everyone. You even hear about the Texans being in on people. The Bucks, I've heard nothing.
Welcome
nothing.
Lamar to Tampa Bay. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
No, I mean they're gonna sign someone who's better than Kyle Trask, but could that be like Baker Mayfield? I mean, that would be gross. I don't know.
Sam Darnold.
Either way, though, what I will say is that if anyone is expecting Rachaad White or Dameon Pierce to be a workhorse running back next year. I would not expect that for either player. I think Dameon Pierce was a workhorse by necessity and should not have been. And Rachaad White was never a workhorse in college and also shouldn't be.
And he wasn't a very good runner last year. He
wasn't.
Yeah.
I think he's he's the kind of thing where you want where the B back is the starter. That's like his upside. Think DeAndre Swift when he was working out.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Eckler, I guess, is the best case, but he's not Austin Eckler. No. Dameon Pierce I don't know why he was a workhorse, because he should not be. So they're going to bring in someone to take carries from him.
He never was in college.
No, exactly. That's why I was saying that I thought his usage as a rookie was odd. I think he needs someone. He would be a lot better if he was only taking 60. Yes. I think he was overworked.
I'm with you.
And I think he needs someone to take a good. What if they weren't signed someone like Damian Harris, someone like that, or Alexander Madison, to play bigger role than he played in Minnesota, someone who you can trust with a few carries. Devin Singletary maybe would be another option. Mm-hmm. Someone like that, someone you can trust with some carries. 40% carries.
There you go.
It's just a callback. It's just a callback.
It's honestly, it's not a bad name. It's really not.
I could see the Texans signing Samaje Perine. Yeah,
Samaje Perine, I think, is going to sign in that kind of role.
I like Damian Harris. The GM for the Texans was with the Patriots a long time. He's drafted Damian Harris, so familiarity fit. I like that.
Yeah, I do think though Dameon Pierce in the passing game is nothing special, and Dameon Harris is a zero.
And they can't have two Damians.
So I don't. I think they're maybe a little too similar. I think Dameon Harris is going to go somewhere that has. That's the other. Actually, Dameon Harris would fit much better on the other team we're talking about here. Now that
that's actually Josh why we had to trade Jalen Reagor.
Dameon
Harris, that's the only reason too.
Wouldn't Dameon Harris fit well on the Bucks? Actually, that actually
they're aspiring to mediocrity. So
it would make a lot of sense there.
Heck yeah.
Crew tonight.
And I don't think Samaje Perine makes as much sense on the Bucks actually.
No, he makes more sense on the Texans because he can catch passes and pass protect.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually legitimately think that that's a landing spot that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very underrated back, Samaje Perine. People forget that he was a pretty good prospect coming in. Challenged Joe Mixon for work at Oklahoma. Always people forget they were teammates once before. Watson points. Oh, no. Deshaun Watson was... There's no excusing his 2022 performance. It was bad. He had 7. This is someone who's supposed to be top 5 quarterback. He had 7 passing touchdowns. I don't know where these numbers are coming from, but the numbers I have that I can tell you is he had 7 passing touchdowns in 6 games. He completed a measly 58.2% of his passes. That's horrible. He averaged 6.5 yards per attempt. Remember, Jacoby Brissett had 7.1. Same offense. Terrible. That's terrible. That's like Drew Lock or Carson Wentz 2020 levels. That bad. So he was not just, 183 passing yards a game. He was not just bad. He was abhorrent. He was horrible. Straight up.
Yeah,
he was.
Even from
no, I like it. I like the word.
I was looking at trade out scoring, which is kind of quarterback friendly.
Well, I remember
he's
him
still
not
under
being started.
16, under 16 points per game.
I had him in Scott Fishbowl. I made a mistake of playing him once, and then there was a big mistake, and I never played him again the rest of the year.
I still think with a full off season, a normal off season, and
he's not going to be as bad as he was.
No,
that is so bad that I don't think he can be. It's literally almost impossible for him to be that bad. All right. In my analyst dynasty league, trade Tyler for 2024 second. I am 28, so it's time. It's time.
Tyler would trade Tyler.
I would trade old. Me. Yeah, I'm too old. I'll have to trade. Rocky.
Tyler would trade him though for a 24 second rounder, and he would have to get a 4th and a 5th as well.
Yeah, Rocky, you look like you could be like 25. You have a nice baby face.
I wish.
I think I know how old you are, but
I've said it on trade.
I know. I think I know.
I'm in my 40s.
Yeah. Well, you do always, yeah. You've talked about like your kids sometimes. So
Yes.
I can
I
kind
have
of.
kids that are almost 25.
Wow.
My oldest is going to be 22 in May.
Big Survivor fan, by the way.
Me?
That's yes, you. That's something that we share.
Yes, I am.
Fans
I'm
of
a
the show?
huge Survivor fan. Yes. Premiered this past week.
Yes.
Very good. Very good episode too, by the way.
Well, I wish there were less visits from the medical crew. You know, that's one thing.
The doctor was like the star of the show.
Yeah, the doctor was the star of the show. There were 4 visits from the medical crew during the show. You never like that. No. You know, you don't really want to see the medical crew be the star of the game. No, it's like how you don't want to see referees be the star of an NFL game.
It's like if you were in the Super Bowl and a guy threw a phantom holding call at the end.
Still hurts.
Still hurts. All right, where's the second tier break for Superflex rookie drafts? Let's see. So for me, for now, 6 is like a hard break because JSN gained a lot of value. Gibbs was really good at the combine, and Addison was absolutely horrible. So
I still like Addison a lot, but yet hurt.
He did strain his back. Maybe that's an excuse.
Yeah, but there were other problems.
I know.
So yeah, Gibbs and JSN are Why would Gibbs have dropped? Gibbs had a great combine. He had a great combine. He did everything that people thought he would, and I think he's pushing for round 1 capital.
You said we were going to talk about the combine, so I actually looked a little bit at some of the numbers. Yeah, and Gibbs was very,
he had a great combine. Yeah, so I don't know why he wouldn't be.
Gibbs
JSN had a better combine.
I like Gibbs a lot.
JSN had a better combine in that I moved JSN above Gibbs, but they're still in the same tier. Now JSN
he outperformed expectations, yeah, for sure.
So they both
made me feel more comfortable.
All 4 QBs by the second tier?
Not Levis. No, I have Levis at 9.
We're just trashing on Will Levis tonight.
I have.
I'm just thinking value wise.
I have Will Mayonnaise at 9.
I think worst case, I think most people think he's going top 15. And
but this is the discussion we had earlier that these mid quarterbacks, you cannot get an early first for them. So why would I take Levis at 5?
I hope his ADP gets inflated to 5.
If I think Will Levis is
I'm not even saying he should go at 5. I'm just thinking he could extend that second tier to 107 when
I don't have him in that
quarterbacks.
Tier, I don't see much upside taking him at 7.
I'm not saying I do either. I just think he might end up being valued that way if he's taken top 15.
Well, then I won't have any.
Yeah.
Then I won't have any. I have him kind of in a tier of 3 with Addison and Quentin Johnson. 7, 8, 9.
And I don't disagree with you there.
That's a tier for me. And then a running back may work their way in there. Charbonnet and A-Chain, depending on how they do. Those are the 2 for me. Those 2 could work their way in there, depending. I need to see second round draft capital. 3rd is not good enough. I need to see second. They won't go in the 1st. I need to see second, good landing spot with a path to touches. I want it if they get all those things and, Levis doesn't get the landing spot or Johnston, the tier, they could work their way into the tier. But those are the players who could be in that group. Bijan is coming in a running back 1 to 3. No.
It's 1.
It's 1. He's coming in at 1.
Yeah.
He's not coming in at 1 to 3. 1 to 3, but he's not 2 or 3.
Fair enough.
Assuming Gibbs gets late first, early second draft capital, where would you put him? Well, let's take a look. Right now I have Hall at 1 among non-rookies. Then Walker. Then JT. McCaffrey. That's right there. Yeah. I'd have Bijan 1, Hall, Walker, and JT, and then Gibbs probably at 5.
If Gibbs goes to the Eagles at 30, people are going to freaking love him.
Not sure that's my favorite landing spot. I'd much rather he goes to the Chiefs.
I think people think, though, that the Eagles are a fantastic landing spot.
They're not.
Fantasy.
They're not, especially for him. Someone who relies on catching the ball.
I know.
Spread it out, too.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, that they haven't been throwing into the ball with Hurts, throwing into the running
back. And then Hurts, the rushing touchdowns.
All of them. Miles Sanders had a good year still.
But Gibbs would get.
He did, but it was mostly running the ball and touchdowns, yeah.
I will say, though, I think I answered it there. I'll have Bijan 1, Hall, Walker, and Taylor 2 through 4, and Gibbs almost certainly at 5.
Wow.
The days of, Oh, that's such old news at this point. I feel like I haven't talked about that in so long, but that's from like before I even started recording shows. But we'll save that story for my tell-all book when I do a
Ooh.
tell-all book on my time at DLF. If I ever do a tell-all book on my time at DLF and my time in the fantasy industry, my start at DFF and all that. If I do a tell-all book, I'll tell all the stories. You know, we can spill all the tea after I'm retired from the fantasy community, which is not coming anytime soon because I love the attention too much and I love you guys and all the support you all give me too much. So yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere. As much as I talk about it and joke about it, I'm not going. Any interest in adding Tim Patrick off the waiver wire? Yes, actually, yes, because he is adamant. I think it's more likely Tim Patrick plays week 1 and is good than Javonte Williams plays week 6. But these are minor details. Sutton is getting shopped around. I mean, Matthew Berry said it, so I would assume that he's not just making it up. Matthew Berry is not someone I think who would just make it up. So it's coming from somewhere legitimate. Not doesn't mean it's going to happen, but there is some truth to it. I do trust him as someone to tell the truth. So,
especially
yes.
deep. Yeah, Tim Patrick should be on teams. Yeah,
absolutely. He's going to be healthy to start week 1.
Yes.
So, he's not someone who carries a lot
he's
of
going to be
dynasty
30
value,
next season.
he should
but,
be on a
like,
roster.
Still,
He should be on a roster.
If he's one of the Broncos' 2 starting wide receivers heading into next year, he has value, and
he shouldn't be on a waiver wire. So
yeah, he should be on a roster over KJ Hamler.
Yes.
Yeah.
KJ
I agree.
Hamler is
Tim Patrick's just better.
Yeah, he's better in every way. I appreciate Toronto, Dave.
I love Toronto.
Would you trade Daniel Jones for an early and mid second?
No.
I don't think so. I think after the contract extension, now I know I'm getting 2 more years of production, 2 years guaranteed of production. I would not.
That rushing upside too. Yeah.
Not an early and mid second. No. Did the Giants hold on to Gary Brightwell? Or just say no thanks? It does not matter. Who cares?
Who cares?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's a special teamer.
Hold on. I don't think they have the cap.
The only person who cares is Mama.
I do want to thank Gus for asking the question, because I always like when people from I don't want to say real life, but like outside the fantasy industry tune into my show and ask questions.
If they do, Tyler will then trade him for a 5th.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
No, Rocky, I did actually draft Gary Brightwell in Trade Addict State, and I sent multiple offers. I tried to combine him with a 2022 5th to get to a 2024 4th. I'm actually not kidding.
But it didn't succeed?
It did not succeed, so I had to cut him. Watch. Over the next month, you're going to see me offer players for Fab.
Ooh.
This is the dumbest thing Russ ever did, was make Fab tradable, because now he has a new object of my obsession. So now they're going to be, you're going to get like 20 offers over the next month. I'm going to keep you very busy, Rocky.
Okay.
You can go and reject my offer of Tyrion
I was
Davis
just actually
Price.
thinking that I was going to go into TA8 now and go reject your offers.
Yeah, go reject it. There's only one left because the Wan'Dale Robinson offer was canceled out because someone actually accepted it.
I saw. Yeah.
I got a 2025 second. Wow, I'm so happy. Ryan, you saw one of my meltdowns when I came into our league, traded everyone away, and then
it was everybody. You traded the whole roster away, and surprisingly, we didn't make any moves together because I kept declining. Oh no, we did. I traded for the corpse of Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a stickler.
You really were.
I'm a hard ass. Like Rocky. I don't know if you've ever gotten to this point in a negotiation with me, but like I'll be like, the 312 not good enough. I need the 310. I negotiated for that.
I'm not sure we have, but yeah,
I did. That was like the 17th offer.
So Ryan and Josh, Tyrion Davis Price or a 2025 4th?
I have lots of free time.
Just leave me alone.
Rocky, I've actually offered Tyrion Davis Price to every manager, and I'm still working on it. There's a lot of room to go.
Okay.
I gotta keep going. I gotta try every possibility. I do this. I go into the trades and offers screen, and I look at who I've offered what, and I just search the player. And if I haven't offered someone something for that player, then I go in and just offer it to every single person. And then I move on to the next player.
Thank you, Sleeper, for just having that capability. Thank you.
I'm very busy. All right. What are some cheap guys you can get into position group 2 that are currently lower? Well,
You're probably going to be young.
yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
I would say that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at DLF Dynasty ADP right now, so I'm looking at some of the lower guys past 24, and like we just talked about David Montgomery, right? Like I know he's not even a young guy. That would be fun, if you went to the Chiefs or something. And then there's Khalil Herbert right next to him, same team, right next to him in Dynasty ADP value. If he's the sole running back, I mean, he probably won't be the sole guy, but he is the leading candidate to be the guy for the Bears next year. So I think Khalil Herbert's a great one for running back.
To give some names, it's harder to at running back. There aren't that many, but
yeah,
at wide receiver, it's easier. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamison Williams is outside the top 24. He obviously has a lot of upside.
26.
So he's someone who has a lot. He's probably the first name on the list for me. And then at quarterback, Jordan Love. If Jordan Love is actually good, he'll go up in value. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but
Right below Jamison Williams is Christian Watson. I did like some of what we saw.
I have Christian Watson inside my top 24 right now.
Yeah.
So
He's wide receiver 27 on DLF 80.
How about Jerry Jeudy? We just talked about Sutton leaving. Maybe Russell
he's
has a
another
better year
one.
next year.
He's still only 23. He turns 24 in April.
Yeah.
So he's another one
Yeah.
I would consider for sure.
And Judy's down there at 30 right now.
Yeah. Those are some good ones. Jahan Dotson.
Here's a
Me and
fun
Christian
long
Watson
shot.
are the same age, by the way.
Yep.
I bet I'm gonna get some hate for this one, but Kadarius Toney, I think, has the upside to do it.
No. He's
I think all you have to do to gain that value, all he has to do is go into next season and have 3 out of the first 4 games. He just has really good games.
I
and
think that's
he'll
something
get that value.
something you underestimate, and I think a lot of people underestimate, is the stink factor. The stink factor. Once a player, and I used to say this, failure. But once a player accumulates the stink factor, how good they have to be to undo it becomes greater and greater and greater. And I think he is up there on the list.
You know what I'm saying, though, right? If he
No,
has
but it
3 or
doesn't
4
matter because he has
games
the
at
stink
next
factor.
season,
He needs more than that.
You're not going to trade for him, but
he needs more than that.
He does
needs more
not
than
have
3
the
or
stink
4.
factor anymore. At least today. Did you see who he covers the NFL for NFL Network? James Palmer's tweet.
No,
They plan on making Kadarius Toney their wide receiver 1 next season.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that. But
DeAndre Hopkins is going to be their wide receiver 1.
they look. They
Kadarius
traded
Toney
for
is
him.
going to be their wide receiver 1 between the players that are under contract. Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Marquez
Sky Moore,
Valdes-Scantling. He's going to be the
that's,
best of those.
That's the big reason why I think Kadarius Toney could be here. I like him a lot more than Sky Moore.
I think Kadarius Toney is going to be sitting on the bench for a lot of the time.
This question is referring to value, right? Because I can name about 6 old guys that could be wide receiver 2.
Yeah, there's plenty of those.
Dynasty, they'll be valued that way in Dynasty.
I think in terms,
that's the way I
how
was
of
taking
value,
the question. Yeah,
in terms of value, I think of all the players we named, Jamison Williams is the best bet
probably. Yeah,
because we know the upside's there.
I appreciate Frank for saying sorry.
Would you rather have the 103 or ETN?
because it's 1 QB.
I'll take.
Well, I have 103 and ETN almost exactly equal. So, and 1 QB. I think I'll take the 103. I'll take the 103. If I'm not sure, I always take the pick.
Yeah, I think I would take the
ETN.
103.
I mean, that's likely going to be
It's
Gibbs
JSN or
or
ETN, pretty
JSN.
much.
I think I'd rather
your
have
wide receiver 1.
those 3. Those 2 players.
That's fair.
Who are the top end guys that are most likely to fall out of the range? Well, they're the old guys.
Yeah,
But if we're talking someone top 12, I mean, Dak. If Dak has another season that's middling, he'll be out of the range for sure.
Mhm.
At running back, I mean, the slightly older guys, and then the older guys are all vulnerable. I mean, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift is still in there, which is mind blowing to me. I don't understand that one.
Christian McCaffrey has an injury. He's out of there for good.
Saquon
Like,
Barkley,
you know?
too, another
Oh
injury.
yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Well, Saquon, for some reason just has.
To be honest, they're
It
pretty
depends
much
how big.
all vulnerable. The only
Yeah.
ones that I think are like really safe is Bijan Robinson when he comes in. Brees Hall. But if he gets hurt again, then who knows?
Yeah, that's 2 years in a row. If it was
what you
serious
said about
injury.
back to what you said about Dak, he's the only guy in the top 12 that's over 27. He's almost 30.
Yeah, it's more of a performance. Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson is bad again, then I think if he's this
It's an easy
bad
choice.
again, he won't be in the top 12. People will think he's a lot riskier. Very true. Very true. I've heard A chain more, but I've also heard a chain or a lot of other things. But I've heard A chain.
I've heard A chain. Yeah, that's the way I've generally heard.
That's
it
how
on
I've been
this
going with it now.
podcast.
Ryan.
Is it all the blue?
Oh, you're camouflaging.
You are very
Kind
camouflaged.
of low key.
I didn't have time to change when I got in from work, so yeah, there you go.
It's a lot of blue.
Indy didn't say no to Lamar. I think Indy. The problem is they have the 4, which is so high. I think Indy is preparing their offer to Chicago right now.
I agree.
Ravens
I
are
still
like,
think it's Bryce Young.
make an
but
offer, Indy. Do it,
Yeah.
please.
I think Bryce Young is what they're looking at, but they could go for CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. We don't know. But Bryce
There's
Young
been
is
talks
still,
of Levis connected to them, but
I think there were pre-combine. They didn't even meet. They didn't choose to meet with Will Levis at the combine.
yeah.
They didn't
'Cause
choose
I
to
heard
meet
about the
with him.
mayo
So
coffee.
I would think that if they
He's
were
scared
interested
of
in Will Levis,
Gary.
they
I
would have
mean, I'm
chosen
done
to
with
meet
him
with him.
too.
But they didn't.
It's a
They didn't
fact.
feel the need. So I don't think that's the case. Give Jimmy G and Derrick Henry for 106, 14-team Superflex. I'll take 106. I'll take 106 easily.
Probably, yeah.
There's no doubt.
If I'm competing,
Derrick Henry could be
I don't
traded
know,
to
maybe
another
not.
team where he's not going to get the same workload. Jimmy G is fine,
team
but
trading
like,
for him, he's going to get a good workload. Though.
I'd rather reset with this in a 14-team Superflex. The quarterbacks will be gone, but I'll get JSN or Gibbs at 6, and I just rather have a player I trust. I don't want to. If this is not letting me go down with the ship with Derrick Henry, and I'd gladly not go down with it.
I think that's fair.
The trade rumors do scare me. They did blow them off and say they're not true, but
I think it's a good trade for a lot of teams out there.
No,
Unless I was a very top end team.
I mean the NFL trade rumors of Derrick Henry.
No, I know
Like,
what you're saying. I know what
It
you're
got
saying.
me thinking,
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe someone would be interested in that. I mean, it's an expiring contract. It's the last year. You don't have to commit to anything. You're not going to have to give up much. Maybe someone would be interested. I don't know. I just hadn't thought about it before. I really had not thought about Derrick Henry being traded until I saw that today. And
Yeah.
then I was like, it actually seems reasonable. I appreciate the discussion on the Bucks and Texans RB room. Was wondering, out of all their positional needs, running back was not one of their higher priorities. I think it's a middling priority in that they need a running back who's competent on their roster. You need more than one, unless you have a superstar, and they don't have a superstar. So, but it is not a top priority. Quarterback is obviously their top priority.
I don't see either of these teams going after Bijan. I know you said the Bucks are more in the range. I think the Texans are more in the range, but
I think it's a little early, and I think the Texans are looking at they're making
at
decisions about
2?
receivers.
Wait,
no,
what do you?
No, it's 12.
Oh, okay.
No, I think
It was
the
a little
Texans'
early
plan,
for running back.
I was about to be like, what?
I think the Texans' plan is, if they can get it to go their way, is to take a quarterback at 2 and their wide receiver 1 if he's still on the board at 12.
By the way,
which is thought it was Quentin Johnston, but now is more up in the air.
I mean,
More up in the air. I
the
think,
combine interviews kind of.
but JSN, I think for most NFL evaluators was not wide receiver 1 going into the combine, and now some are saying that he is a possibility. At that
I mean,
spot,
the Texans interviewed Kendra Miller of the TCU Horned Frogs, and they were just asking about Quentin Johnson basically the whole time. That's what I heard anyway. So,
yeah. Well, Kendra Miller is someone at that
Sneaky.
66 or 74 picks they have in the third would be a reasonable possibility. Kendra Miller had a solid college career. Third round pick would seem reasonable if they're into him. So that could be someone they could pick. That's interesting. But it's a lot of speculation. Free agency is next week. We'll be live Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern for the start of tampering period. And then we'll be back here 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the Tuesday for midway through the tampering period. Most of it will be done. So, and then I'll go do my own videos throughout the rest of the week. Last question. 10-team best ball Superflex start 10. Hurts are 101 and 2-0.
I don't
That's
want to answer
tough.
this.
Yeah.
I know.
It's-
That's a tough one.
For me, it's not that tough.
It's
I mean,
hurts
the
for me.
value in a 10-team Superflex where a quarterback is
value-
worth less
Is
with the
in 10 team, it's
101
easy.
and
Yeah,
Bijan.
yeah. In 10 team, it's easy.
Yeah, in a 10-team, the
12
value
I
on
could think
quarterback
about
is
it.
less. So
In a 12 team, I'm
the
honestly
value
this
is
is a
with the
fair trade
101
either
and
way.
2-0.
The
The
value
value-
is
the value is with the
absolutely
101.
with the 101 and 2A.
Yeah.
It's passing Jalen Hurts value, but yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
would
that's
take
the-
the
that's the
1 and
correct
2
answer.
and 10 or 12. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a 14, maybe.
I
With
think
the
they
high
got
ends
in a
are worth
14.
just so much.
Definitely. In a
And the
14,
risk
I'm
of
definitely
crapping
going
out
there.
on Tua is
No
a little bit higher and scarier in a 14. But in a 10-team league, Bijan and Hurts are not that far apart. In a 10-team Superflex, they're not that far apart.
Yeah, that's
10 people. I
that's-
say this
yeah,
a lot,
that's
and
fair.
it's a good thing. It's Superflex Dynasty Strategies show we were supposed to have, and we did talk about it. But it is very important to note that the value of quarterbacks is not just a little bit; it is majorly different between a 10-team, 12-team, and 14-team league based on the scarcity. It's not
Second
comparable.
quarterback
By the
around.
way, I always say my whole,
No, it's much
philosophy
better.
that you're referring to earlier, Tyler. I always say that's in regards to 12 team. I treat
Oh,
it
always,
much
yeah.
differently in 14 and 16.
Yeah. Oh, 14 changes the whole game.
Yeah.
Then quarterbacks are so scarce that you have to, I think that a lot of those QBX or QB heavy strategies would be applied correctly in a 14-team league, but they're being over applied to a 12-team league where I think you can get quarterback. And in a 10-team league, there's enough for everyone to have 3 starting quarterbacks. There's all sorts of streamers are often available. I've played in 10-team Superflex. There are streamers are available on waivers. You can in 12-team that doesn't happen. In 14-team, there are no quarterbacks on waivers at all ever. In 12-team that really doesn't happen. In 10-team it does. It does happen.
Streamers, no, but yeah, it's just so
in a
much easier to
10-team,
quarterback.
there are backup quarterbacks are not rostered. Like when there's an
Okay,
injury, a random
that's fair.
backup is available. In 12-team,
In
usually
12, you can
not.
occasionally get a guy like.
In 10-team, though, they're available every week.
Yeah, I know. I'm
12-team,
saying in 12 team,
Not every
it's
week.
more of
That
There
is
were Purdy's picked
Most
up
of
off
the time they
waivers in my 12 team leagues. even
unless
though
it's a
he
really
was
deep
rookie.
league.
Yeah.
If there's 40 roster spots, then no. But
No, I'm
Right.
in a pretty shallow 10-team league, and
They
maybe
shouldn't.
it's just everyone's
people
holding
are-
quarterbacks, but
if that's the case, then people are making
there's
mistakes
no,
by
you're
leaving
not going
other
to
good
start a
players on
quarterback in any Superflex league off the waiver wire.
No, but you can
In a
get
10-team
like
league.
those. What I'm talking about is those players who are not.
Yeah,
just
it's
backups,
if someone gets
Colt
injured
McCoy.
and there's a backup, absolutely, but that doesn't happen.
Those players are not. But those players are on waivers in almost every 10-team Superflex.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair.
Not in 12 is more on the fence, and 14,
Right.
forget it.
And so
14,
is
you don't
12
have-
you
together
could be
with
taking
some-
zeros in 14.
Got to get a
So
little
it's-
lucky though.
It's very important to note that the difference there. And I did an article about this at some point. I have to find it. It's an old article. I wrote it a long while back. I think it was for DLF. It was maybe a year ago. All right. Anyone got anything they want to plug?
Silence.
Let's do it. Follow us on Twitter. We're right here. Look at our
Yeah,
Twitter,
all our
yes.
Twitter's in the bottom left.
Nothing?
Yeah.
Rodney.
I'll plug my stuff. I'm at
Yes.
Dynasty FF Addict.
Yes.
Everyone knows Trade Addicts because of Russ, not because of me. So,
No, that's not true.
but
You've been on
Trade
the show
Addicts
for
Pod-
years.
I have
Yeah.
now. Russ has let me hang on there for a couple of years now, but yeah, Trade Addicts, DAP Network, everything on there is great. I also do another one periodically. I've been kind of more in and out recently on Dynasty Junkies with I'd rather plug my hosts there, Andrew Hall and Scott Sidlow. They're great, and they do a lot more of the shows than I do. And also I've done one in the last 3 months, but Dynasty Game Night is the third show that I'm on, and it's a very fun show. You're not going to get a ton of info, but it's
I
think
went
Josh
on
I
it
was
was
once.
doing well.
I went on it
doing
once.
Well, I got like my ass kicked.
Ours was worse.
Well, I was in
Yeah,
there for
I
a
did
tournament
great
of
at first.
champions because I won the first time, and then
Yeah.
I'm on what was it? Me, Ryan McDowell.
Dowell and Matt Price.
Matt
You
Price.
had a bad
I was
draw,
gonna beat
though.
them.
Those are two of the best guys at it.
Yeah, the
You
the
actually
one who
held your own. And I
know.
remember that
the one who
ADP game.
collects the ADP data,
Yeah.
and the other host of the DLF podcast who uses it all the time. It's great. I was gonna beat them in games based on the DLF website. I had such a fair chance, despite the
Matt
fact
Price,
that
by the way, also on DGN, which is a DLF podcast. So
Yes.
I'm done plugging.
No, you're good. People should subscribe to the DLF family of podcasts on their favorite podcatcher. I am also on Podcatcher. All your podcatchers. If you search Tyler FF Creator, it should come up. There's nothing on there that's podcast native, but I do port these shows over. I've been trying to read the questions a little more to make them more of a podcast friendly if you're interested in podcasts over YouTube. So they are all on there. And then, of course, if you're here, it'll come up in the end screen. But of course, like, comment, and subscribe. The comments actually really help the algorithm the most on YouTube. So if you could leave a comment if you like the video, that would really be awesome. But like and subscribe are obviously also great. And I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of extra content to cover free agency as the weeks go on. But yeah, it's been a great show. And I appreciate everyone for coming on and Rocky for being our extra special guest. And I will see you all next time. Peace.
See you guys.